And we are live.
Okay, so this is the inaugural meeting of the Special Committee on the Future of a Consolidated Parks and Recreation Facility. And normally I'd go around the table and say who is here, but I don't know all of you yet. Of course, we have Tracy Willett, and we'll start with introduction. So I'll start and you can just work around the table. So I'm Gretchen Schaefer. I was a counselor for 2 terms and stepped back in November and have raised kids in Bangor and been part of many different facets of Parks and Rec, from doing little gingerbread houses to summer camps to soccer and all of that. Now my kids are mostly grown, so we are not there as much, but I also see the Parks and Rec as being for all ages, and hoping a new building will accommodate not just sports, but recreation for all Bangor residents. So I'll move on to you.
Sure. It's Mike Jondro, Bangor resident. I was nominated by Mike Beck. I don't know if anything else.
I'm Debbie Jondro. I don't know if it's the same spelling or not. I've been in recreation for 30 years. Started in Southern Maine and Old Orchard and Kennebunk, and then I came here as the assistant director 17 years ago.
I'm Susan Dean. I'm city councilor. I'm here unofficially. Carolyn is our actual liaison, but I wanted to sit in since I had some time today. My son is 28, so he's no longer using Parks and Rec, but he did when he was younger. And Tracy took me on a tour last year of the facility, which was eye-opening. Discussing this. So I'm very interested in moving forward with this.
I'm Carolyn Fish. I'm on Bangor City Council presently. I've been a realtor for a long time, helping to buy and sell properties, bringing people in and out, and I've raised 2 boys. And we lived in a neighboring community of Orrington. So when they were younger, we did participate and enjoy many of the curricular activities offered through the Bangor Rec. And I'm excited to be on this and welcome everybody, and looking forward to the future.
I'm Mary Rush. I own and operate Mert Enterprises, which is a supported living agency in Bangor. I've been in business 33 years. We have 18 different properties around Bangor that we house people in and be a part of the community. And I also have raised my 2 children and lived in Bangor my entire life. So I look forward to being a part of this. Thank you.
I'm Nikki Farnham. John and I were on the city council in the early 2000s, but also then I had time on school committee, a little time in the legislature, but most importantly, 3 boys. Oldest is now 34 years old, and so we've lived in the same house on Fairmount Park. But during which time we got to experience the parks, obviously, and the hockey rink. All 3 boys played hockey, so we're very, very intimate with the hockey rink and the other parks and other activities throughout the city. So excited to be a part of this and looking forward to seeing how we can, go forward and improve upon what's already here.
Hey, and I'm John Roman and served on council, I think starting in the 1900s. So
was it 1998 or something? Early 2000s.
Lived. Both my kids are now in their 50s, but brought them up in Bangor. Was very active in Little League and all that stuff, way back when. But also was involved with the folk festival for a number of years. So Tracy and I worked together on that, and very familiar. Was with WBRC Architects for 40 years. So I think that's probably why I'm on this committee, because of that background.
I'm Joe Nelson, General Manager of Sawyer Ice Arena. I may have graduated Bangor High School with one of John's
I think
daughter.
You did, Joe. Yes.
So we're not gonna say how many years ago that was. And I'm the athletic facilities manager for the Bangor School Department with Parks and Recreation. So I've been in this position, I haven't really counted lately, but 30-ish plus years. So been here for a while. The quick thing, Sawyer Arena was not there. There was no bubble. I went to college by the time I left college, and it may have taken me 5 years. I came back and it was actually there. So that's shortly after that is when I took over and have been there ever since.
My name's Chris Groton. I'm actually a resident of Glenburn, although I've been, raised my family here. We've been in this Bangor area for about 35 years. My parents both grew up in Bangor. Their parents before them were longtime Bangor residents for forever and well into their 90s. So my family has a lot of roots in and around the Bangor area. I've been involved over the years in youth sports, whether it's officiating, coaching. So I've had a lot of ties and connections intertwined with the city of Bangor over the years in a lot of ways. Tracy and I go way back for a lot of reasons, and I'm also involved with our municipal government in Glenburn, so I have a little bit of affinity on a much smaller scale for the challenges of municipal government. I'm also vice president at Hudson University, so I'm here sort of representing that interest as well, and we're excited to think about the potential this could bring for our students. My role is I'm the vice president of student experience, so it's I spend my days trying to make going to college a wonderful experience for students, and this really potentially provides a wonderful opportunity for us to enhance that residential experience. So I'm happy to be included in the group.
My name is John DeSantis. Not a Bangor resident, but I've done a lot of work in Bangor. I'm a co-owner of Knobscott General Contractors. Formerly worked at Chimbrow for many, many years. So I built the Bangor Event Center, Cross Insurance Center now, I guess it would be, in the Hollywood slots, and a lot of big projects in Bangor. And currently well in tune to the entire construction market, nationally as well as the state of Maine in terms of where price points should be and all that. Currently using the Bangor Rec 2 days a week. My 10-year-old is on a basketball team that we use that building. I was just in it last night looking around. So this is exciting for the region. My 10-year-old has a lot of his friends that play hockey at the ice arena. We've been there several times. And just to know what it does for this entire community it's gonna be pretty exciting. So I'm glad to be part of it and assist where I can and offer whatever.
Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mike Pearl, a resident of Bangor. I'm also a retired military officer, 24 years. I'm also retired from the VBA, and I've done construction projects in Latin America as a liaison, and I was a J3 doing construction projects in the Republic of Panama. So I worked in both Guatemala and Panama, foreign countries. I also have a degree of physical education from the University of Maine, and I'm really excited about this project.
Thank you. So Tracy, I'm going to kick it back to you so you can, I feel like you're best to do the overview of the purpose and scope of what you would like us to do here.
So thank you. And again, as the city manager shared with you, for all of us, the Parks and Recreation staff, gratitude and appreciation for your willingness to be a part of this effort and a part of this committee. We've got some great folks around the table that we're looking forward to have a conversation with about the next steps. So again, our appreciation. This is a big deal for us. This is a big step for us. So appreciate your time and willingness to be a part of it here for the next couple of months. So to give you a bit of an overview of how we arrived at the adopted feasibility study, we actually sought RFPs and did a couple specific things. Asked for RFPs for a renovate or replace the Park and Rec Center as well as Soy Arena. We did it separately in the event that we happened to get a couple of different consultants that had some better expertise. Ultimately, we chose Barry Dunn, who put together a team that you see there on the cover page of the report. And they did a fantastic job of really thorough process that, you look at Joe and Deb, 9 months probably, around 9 months.
Oh, wow.
In length. Several stakeholder groups, both individual to ICE, individual to the rec center, and then certainly combined groups as well. Several members of the city staff as well as the school staff. So a very thorough process to arrive at the report you have there in front of you, as well as a more detailed 100+ page final report that included a variety of information and benchmarking information. So the study sought out locations, evaluated locations, and we decided to only focus on city-owned parcels, which we had. And those sites, I believe, are at the back of the report they have in front of you. Ultimately, as you can see, it was determined to replace both facilities. And I've heard around the table that each of you have been in one or both of them over the years, and certainly it's time. I mean, it's time to have the conversation and time to take a look. We arrived at Griffin Road, the field on Griffin Road as a preferred site. And those of you that have that kind of background, the topography itself, it's a flat site, wide open field. And interestingly enough, it came out as part of the process that geographically, it's essentially in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
For many years, we've been located at the end of Main Street, and folks were fortunate. Folks find us every day, 7 days a week, and Sawyer Arena being at Hayford Park. Certainly if you've been on 13th Street, either during events at Mansfield or Sawyer, or just for pickup and drop off at Fairmount School, 13th Street gets to be a busy street. So those are just some of the factors that played into the final site selection on Griffin Road. There's plenty of space, room for more opportunities down the line, and certainly a preferred site, and certainly having Hudson across the street helps the conversation. The concept that Barry Dunn developed was a 2 sheets of ice, more of a game type sheet, and the second sheet more of a practice auxiliary sheet, complete childcare area, as well as a 3-court gymnasium, multi-use space along with that. And what was interesting, when we had our stakeholder meeting with our senior citizen group, they were very quick to share with us, they saw the need for multi-generational space, they called it. And that's a term we've heard multiple times versus we want our room. They were very open to multi-generational type spaces, which certainly helps the whole planning process. And then the administrative suites above the locker space in this concept between the 2 sheets of ice. In addition to that, and this came out of a discussion we had when we were having with the school department, you'll see a park and rec combined school maintenance block in the concept, the proposed facility concept. The logic and the thought is to bring school maintenance and house them with our park maintenance. It helps the space issues that I believe school maintenance has at the high school. I'm looking at Joe, he's up there every day. That was one of the questions that the school staff brought up to us, and we could do that. Certainly with Joe and his crew and their role with our management of school facilities and the shared usage of equipment and resources, it made a lot of sense. So the plan in this concept would be to bring school maintenance with our park maintenance crew and house them together. And then there was an additional block set aside at the time. There was discussion about possibly locating our public health department with us as well. So each one of those phases is identified in the report you have there in front of you. Certainly would serve a huge need for the community. When we get to changes and additions to consider, we were clear and initially against kind of their recommendation at the time, but understood what is one of the bigger pieces that's missing out of this concept that we'll get to in the next part of the agenda is a fitness piece to this. Most of these public park and recreation centers have a fitness area of some kind. This did not include that at the time. We also did not include aquatics. The Y does a fantastic job with aquatics. That's what they're good at, among other things. And that's part of their plan for the new facility as well. So purposely left aquatics out of it, but certainly fitness, something we should consider as we get going in these meetings to at least have the discussion with. I think I've kind of thumbnailed it. It was kind of quickly, but that's kind of how we arrived at where we are. We did evaluate, as I said, we did evaluate a number of sites. Griffin Road has the space, the proximity to everybody in the city, and potentially will start to serve an area of the city that we really don't have a presence in now. It made sense. We worked with the school committee to transition the property use from what initially was identified as a school use to using it for this facility. I think I've kind of thumbnailed it. I'm gonna look at Deb and Joe. Kind of a jumping off point for you all. So the charge for you all, as detailed in the order, is to have this discussion, start to reevaluate as far as estimates. They did provide some construction cost estimates. They've also provided us with some operating estimates, some staffing estimates as well. And included are the things that we should include now that we didn't back in February of 24, and start to develop those thoughts and recommendations to finalize a report back to the city council in July. How to do? Good?
Good.
All right. So we'll start with that. I'm happy to answer questions about the current feasibility study if you have any. It was a pretty thorough process. Several stakeholder groups, listening sessions. They did a social pinpoint survey, which they were ecstatic at the response. Much like the senior citizen group, we had real good conversations with our hockey folks and ice arena folks, as well as our rec center folks. And again, the realization of both groups that it's not just one segment of our programming efforts. It's everybody understands and appreciated each other's needs and came together in opinion to develop the concept that you have there in front of you. So very happy with the process and how it went.
I have one question. I feel like when we talked about this at council a million years ago, there were some phases to this,
So
or has that changed?
that has not changed. So there are, I'm gonna look over your shoulders, you're coming through. There are phases, outdoor space phases. There you go.
Yeah, but both ice is in the first
Yes.
phase now. I feel like there was some discussion on,
We did go back and forth on it, but it's included in the first phase. Yep.
so this page 9 would be
Yep.
phase 1.
Yep, phase 1.
Okay, thank you.
Some of the, just to follow that up, right out of one of the segments that could be at a later phase is the public health block. But certainly, other than that, that page on page nine is the current proposed facility.
Any questions?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. The trail, I can't recall.
Yep.
Was that walking and running only, or was bike also allowed there?
That's gonna be multi-purpose,
Okay, so
all around, on the outside, all
Okay.
around, that will be all, yes, it'll be
I
multi-purpose.
think people are very interested in having that option.
Mhm.
So currently, the high school cross country team is out there on a with a running track, practice track.
Mhm.
So that got included early, and as Deb mentioned, to make sure we included that in the scheme of the cost, be minimal.
One of the things in this process, sorry to butt in, but even talked about, you could drop your children off at the ice arena, and then the gymnasium had a track around the top. So like multi-use.
Yeah.
As a family. So we
Right.
tried to, that was one of the things they got feedback as part of this process. It came back. I thought it was pretty neat. So there was like a walking track inside also. So during the winter,
Mhm.
instead of being on the car waiting to pick Johnny up after practice, you can utilize other parts of the facility.
I will-
That's kind of neat.
Just as we do this, I would just ask that you raise your hand so I can keep track of who wants to speak. So I'm gonna let Mike go, and then Mike on Zoom, and then you, Nikki.
All right,
All right, thank you. So I just want to emphasize, the reason I'm not there is I have a bad cold and I didn't want to get anybody sick. So to follow your point, since we have an elderly population here and, you know, the winter months tend to be pretty long, I think it's important we have like an indoor track where people can walk and exercise, as well as, and I guess there is an established outside track for summer purposes. So that's unfortunately, I can't see the paperwork because I don't have any of it in front of me. But that's something I would be really, really happy to see, especially the indoor track. So the elderly population could walk. Because my understanding now is about 70 people from Bangor go to Brewer and walk inside the building there. So it would be very advantageous if we had something for the elderly people to walk around here. Thank you.
Mike, this mic now.
I was wondering if, the, Griffin Road location is like finalized, like it's going to be the, so it's been decided?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that's, so it's not gonna be like, looking through these, there were a few locations that had enough space, and so just did like a quick check, like getting rough acreage of the actual facility that's planned, and phase one is only, it's like a little over 15 acres, and the full thing with all the phases is 22 acres, and it's a 41-acre site. That's a lot of extra space. I was wondering what was planned for that.
So additional phases include outdoor, multi-use field space. There is, tennis courts and some of the other, if I remember right, and pickleball courts.
Soccer fields.
So that allows, this site allows for that expansion. And, also included, in this is obviously the associated parking.
Yeah.
Each of the other sites, so just full candor, the next site that kind of fell in line of all the sites we looked at was behind Bass Park. But the topography over there, the shared parking, with the cross center and the track, and accessibility continues to put Griffin Road nearer or at the top. We looked at behind our current facility, and it's just not adequate enough. We looked at Hayford Park, and it would essentially break the facility up among that site. And as we alluded to, 13th Street and with what we have currently over there, whether it's Beth Pankow activity, whether it's Mansfield activity, whether it's Sawyer Rayner activity, we overflow now into the street, and you couple that with a school activity, it didn't make it the most desirable site. The others fell off the list fairly quickly. I think we looked at some city property on Grandview.
Yeah.
We looked at some city property up on Cleveland Street, which is out by the airport. And again, behind us at Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
So, again, Griffin Road has all those attributes. We actually even did a little windshield timing tour around the city, and we're all pretty close. Question came up early in one of our meetings about public transportation, and I believe the community connector comes on campus or near it.
It does.
It comes on, it's on the south entrance.
Yeah.
Pulls in there, but I can see that being easily accommodated to switch. when it shows up.
To that end, I mean, they make a quick run now up Farm Road to access some of the industrial park and then residents at Dunstan House. So that was one of the questions that came up when we first presented. So yeah, that's just kind of a thumbnail how we arrived at where we did with the sites.
What about walkability though? Because it's, so one thing that jumped out to me is that it's geographically sensible, but it's not really walkable from the population centers.
I think at this point, though, that's not really what we're charged with discussing is its location. We're charged with discussing the facility. So the location's been determined.
Okay.
Yeah. Nikki?
So I don't see any redundancy related to that sheets of ice. You know, that's a direct one-to-one replacement. But how did you go about kind of right sizing and choosing the right mix of activities as it relates to the expansion of the YMCA and the huge effort that they're going through, doing some of the very same things? Cause I heard you mention the why a little bit and I heard you mention like other,
Question.
you know, the schools have gyms, the schools have courts, the schools, yeah, you know, currently we as, you know, as community have all these things also. So how did you go about right sizing this to complement what we already have in the city? And include what the YMCA is planning in their huge capital campaign.
So.
So kind of, yeah.
I'm with you.
all
I'm with
that.
you. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
the questions you just asked were all part of the process that Barry.
And
Dunn
I
went
thought I
through.
heard you here, yeah, I heard you
So-
kind of say that, but help me feel more comfortable.
Yeah, for sure, no, for sure. So with the Y specifically, and I'll call it a partnership that we've always had with the Y in that, and I'll use childcare.
Yeah,
Childcare is a prime example.
Yeah.
So, and I believe the two of you were on the council back when we first started the childcare discussion. And it varied over the years,
Mhm.
and we are now, if we don't have a waiting list, we often have a waiting list with our program, they have waiting lists for their program.
okay,
And
there's
so,
plenty.
okay,
I
I was
share that-
wondering, is this right size?
Yeah.
Because we have, yeah.
so I share that with you just to illustrate that. Each of us has a bit of a different mission.
Mhm.
Some of our participants and are different. They come to us for programming, whether it's because of the scholarships that we, fee assistance we can provide, or they just like a park and rec program. Some do the same with a Y. So, and again, we have coexisted offering several like programs. Aquatics specifically, that's what they're good at. That's
Yeah,
what
I
they're very
noticed
good
there's
at.
not a pool included.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we never had that desire. to
No.
pool. So this is based on several of the stakeholder meetings. This is what we need in the community. This is what we want to see in the community. As far as the school space, yeah, we're doing that now. We're doing
Yeah,
that now. And we maximize that use as best we can. But at the end of the day, the schools have their programs and their activities that they need to make sure that they accommodate first. One of the things, we've started to make use of another gym at the gym at East Main Community College because we just, and we still don't have
Yeah.
enough space. So to answer your right size question, based on the feedback that they heard from their stakeholder meetings and the surveys, based on what we're currently doing, if you were just there the other day, we're challenged for some things we can do as far as growth because of the lack of the space that we're in right now. We use every inch of that armory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the childcare scenario, and I think some of you have been down there during a day of childcare. It's not it's not set up as a really solid, proper childcare as far as separated rooms, in and out. We make use of every room we can, and staff is great and run a great program. It's an ideal childcare scenario.
Right, and what we're proposing for the childcare here
Yeah.
is basically just a safe place for what we have now to go there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's not like an expansion for that. The expansion is gymnasiums and track and soy arena, ice sheets and stuff like that, where we really need, when we have 42
One ball.
basketball teams, we have one gymnasium. We use schools with, the court size of this room, and then the coaches go and I get a call at 7 o'clock at night, doors are locked, every week. It's just, we need that space for all of
The
our.
Y is also doing gym space though in there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And,
Okay.
and the why, I think they're much the same way. They're right sizing their facility for what they're doing. We have not heard at all from the beginning of any concern about overlap or competing, because we don't overlap, we don't compete. We share and we work together
Compliment.
and complement.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That,
For sure,
that
for
this
sure.
whole
Yeah.
effort is just really
Yes.
gonna complement
Yes.
one another.
And
Yeah.
we've found with studies that we have done that the more that is offered, the more that come out. And so it actually brings more people out to share from everywhere. So people come to our place first and they're like, wow, this is great. Oh, there's a pool in the city, they'll go to the Y,
Yeah.
vice versa. And
One follow-up regarding, the high school recently redid all their courts. you know, their tennis courts and
Yes.
whatnot. I mean, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So again, this plan has courts, like
Court space.
pickleball
Yep.
courts or
Yes.
whatever court
Yeah.
space. So is that, we still need them all out in that same area because they're in pretty close proximity.
So those are future phases.
Okay,
So this would be
future
part of this
phases. Yeah,
initial
yeah,
phase and
got it.
not part of the discussion you all are having.
Yeah,
Today.
yeah. Okay, good.
And you're
John?
right, yeah, go ahead.
Well, kind of full disclosure, I'm on the Y building committee as
So,
well.
yeah, when I discovered that, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
thank goodness. I mean, this is good because we want the complementary.
What I was really pleased about this is really, I see it as replacement. I
Yeah,
really don't
yeah.
see it. I mean, yeah, there's 2 sheets of ice as opposed to 1, but I really see this as replacement areas, not so much an expansion of what we're doing. One of the concerns I did have looking through this, and I'm awfully glad that we've got Chinbrook folks here. To me, the square footage cost on this and the cost on this is way under what it should be, which is a real, which will be a concern.
So that's why we're here.
Yeah,
That's why.
so
we're
I
here.
mean, I know I tried to find out, to look back on some of my information on the Y square footage cost. But this is dramatically under what was projected for the Y, and I don't know if you know exactly what's going on with the Y costs, but.
I do not, so.
But this is only like $200 a square foot. That's way under. So I have a concern about that.
Chris, and then, did I see anything? No, okay.
So I just, if folks in Ottawa, we've been having discussions between Hudson and St. Joe's about a trail network. And one of the discussion has been that we have a desire to have more outdoor recreational opportunities for students. They have a desire to, from the back of their property, which abuts ours, to have an ADA compliant walking trail for patients, families, that type of thing. So we've been going back and forth. We've done a feasibility study. We haven't really kind of revisited that in the past 6 months or so, but we do have at least a concept plan in mind. And the reality is that would, just because of some drainage and vernal pools and other things, it would likely drop that right near the end of our Griffin Road entrance. So I bring that up only because one of the concerns I think that might alleviate would be it potentially might create a connection between Bangor High School and this facility. So you have students who are leaving every day who are now, forced or required to run, walk, whatever, down Griffin Road and Broadway. There may be an opportunity, and I'm thinking that this project might sort of bolster our argument for trying to obtain some grant funding to put in that type of a trail. But I think there's a potential to kind of create a trail network,
Wonderful.
which might be safer for high school students. It might be a recreational opportunity, and it might really link that together. So we have a track field and cross-country program, and we don't have a track field or great cross-country area. So
They're on Kenduskeag and they're on Valley and they're Dodger Park. And actually, my doctor's office is in that plaza, and I've always parked there and looked down and been like,
I'm so close. Yeah, so there are a lot of, I think that there are a lot of synergies here, and I think that this might actually help our discussion and further that discussion with St. Joe's about the trail, and I think that may also potentially help this project and build that connection, because you're right, it's close to the high school, but not quite
Not
close
quite,
enough, so
Yeah.
that might be helpful.
were there other hands up? One thing that with the indoor track, absolutely, Mike, and what I'm reminded of is my sister lives in Golden, Colorado, which is they get a lot of money from Coors, and we don't have a beer factory, but they have this beautiful community center. And when I go, she takes me there and I get my little guest
Yeah.
pass, and
Yeah.
they have a pool, but we aren't doing a pool. But I go in and they have the second floor walking track, like UMaine
Yeah.
has one, and I was there and there was like a 3-on-3 game of senior citizen women's basketball. They were all definitely way older than me. It was a while ago, but they're playing that. And then we would go down to the weight room and we did like our weights, and there was fitness equipment, and it was just this beautiful space. And whenever we've discussed this, I think of that community center in Golden, Colorado. If you look it up, you'll find pictures, and it's a true community center. One of the things they have is an indoor playground, and she would take, when her son was a toddler, she could go if the weather was poor and have a place to play inside. It used to be when my kids were little, you could do that at the mall, and they had like climbing structures at the mall. And now the mall is not really a place where you want to go hang out for any amount of time. So, and talking about childcare, you know, I joke now that my kids now provide childcare, but because they do, I know the stresses of childcare, and childcare is absolutely a huge need in this area, massive issue. I don't see it going away. It would be, and I've run the numbers, it's cheaper to send your child to college right now than it is for childcare, even at the Y. And I can show you the figures on that. So, and when you go to college, you get a scholarship. When you're trying to pay for childcare, you're usually early in your career and you don't get a scholarship. So having city childcare is essentially a way to subsidize childcare for our citizens and for people in the area. So I know we're saying replacement. If you could expand, you would fill those slots on childcare. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm sitting at this table. So those are my thoughts. Are there any other thoughts, Carolyn?
And just for the folks at home, this isn't just because we want a new facility, but we're really at the point in the city where, especially the ice arena, that is instrumental to the activities, not just for this community, but other communities that rely on that. And the overall condition or poor condition of the rec center we have now, this is kind of overdue. So this is necessary. One way or the other, we're going to lose great opportunities for the city. So this just isn't because we want it and it sounds nice. We need it. Done.
Interestingly enough, the ice arena, when that first went in, we were involved with that, and Tom Sawyer came and said, we're gonna give you a bubble so that you can get by with 3 or 4 years for an ice arena. And look at this. I mean, you know, that thing is desperately needed to be replaced. That was a temporary facility.
Yeah, and Mike Burrow was talking about for seniors, you know, the other thing about our current armory situation is that it's accessible and that there's a sponge ramp and there's a chair that you can ascend if you want to go upstairs. But it really is not, it might be accessible, but it's not welcoming. And if you are somebody who has physical limitations, you want a place that you can easily go in, walk, maybe you get your exercise by walking the laps around that basketball court. Maybe that's your level of fitness and not playing 3-on-3 and when you're 75 years old. But having that be accessible to all is a really key part.
One thing that I know that we've talked as staff that we're looking for, and we visited other places like you did in Colorado. And right now our facility, people come in because we have to make them come in. We have to program. And we want something that people will just be like, we want to go walk, we want to go work out, we want to go shoot basketball. And when you go to these other facilities and there's 1,000 people that walk in that day, that you didn't have to like put a basketball game together. They just walk in and the door's opening all the time. That's a community. And that's what we want to have. And so making extra spaces, and there's some extra on there, but even thinking more outside and a fitness portion to it to get those people in, like Joe was saying, you know, their child's playing hockey. I'm gonna go work out and go on the elliptical, or grandma's gonna go walk around the track, and have it more of a family place just to go and just where everybody can go.
And I would also add, we're talking a lot about fitness here, but this is parks and recreation is not just physical activity.
Right.
But having, and it looks like it's built in, having spaces where you could, like, I know like the Eastern Maine Camera Club meets at your place, right? Or I have been looking for a place to try to host a sewing group for people that you need tables and outlets and room. And a place like this, maybe I could, you know, rent a room at our community recreation center to have a sewing place where it's easy to access. You're not hauling your machine up the stairs and all of that. So I think it's also important to consider this not just as a fitness facility, but as a recreation facility.
Great point. And that goes back to the multi-generational, multi-use spaces that they've included in the concept. Many of the classes just described. And currently, as Deb alluded to, we're trying to shoehorn those in now. But then you have to keep in mind, I mean, we're 3 levels. So what classes can we offer to what populations in the spaces that we have that folks can get to? The chair did go away. We actually have a lift now. The chair,
Oh, do you?
It's there, just doesn't work.
Okay, I haven't been in a while.
oh, the other chair, that's right, the Legion chair on the other side. I forgot about that one. But anyway, yes, all of it.
Go ahead, Nikki.
As it relates to the Nelson Durgan Center over in Brew, I mean, that's specifically for that, how does this complement that? Or does this also complement that? I get like the suspended walking area. But then they kind of have a lot of programming or a lot of opportunities together. Was that part of the discussion too?
It was a bit of part of the discussion, and certainly much like we just talked
Yeah.
about with the why.
Yeah,
I think there's agreement that there can't be too many of those
Okay.
resources for that population,
yeah.
for sure.
okay,
And I have said, we've all said as a staff, one of the programming niches that we have been challenged to fill over the years is programming for that
yeah,
population.
yeah,
Because we're not staffed and or spaced for it. You kind of heard some of the how you get into the building down there on Main Street.
oh, yeah.
It's interesting.
I think it also speaks to that multi-generational piece, that the Durgan Center is not multi-generational.
Yes,
And it
yes,
serves a
got it.
need for that population.
Yeah.
But if you are in town and you want, your kid has a basketball game and you want to go do something else, and maybe your grandparents are here and they want to watch a little bit of that, but also get some steps in,
Yeah,
that it meets the needs of everyone in the community and not just a specific population.
nice.
One of the other pieces too, and it's gonna go back to kind of the next steps, and just trying to get a sense of where y'all are at the table today. The consultant did provide us with certainly staffing, operating costs, revenue, potential to recapture revenue based on different scenarios. So certainly those pieces are included in that going forward as well. So far, it seems like we've talked about a couple of possible next steps. You've heard from us that there might be an opportunity to include fitness here, and probably should be included, at least initially. We've also heard that our per square foot cost might be a little low. So those sound like two things to come back with. And I'm not trying to, I just want to make sure I don't lose track of kind of those next steps. I can tell you that we've had some good post-report conversations with Barry Dunn. They're actually doing our organizational assessment currently for the department. And they have been keeping up to date on progress of this project. CHA was the architectural firm that was part of the team. We had some post-report conversations with them as well, so I only mention that because they certainly could be brought back into the mix if we need to, for specific requests from the committee. Or we can go complete other direction.
Any questions, comments?
I'm assuming that as you think about, future phases moving forward, probably you'd look to do the utility work and, kind of plan that utility work, the groundwork with that in mind.
Yep.
And are there any grant opportunities, like if you were to add this or that would open up any grant funding opportunities at all?
It's all possible, Chris. I mean, that certainly as you all continue to do your work here in the next couple of months, based on those discussions, then we'll prompt maybe some research into that. I think certainly financing a project is that's all part of the conversation that you all are having.
And I know it was a new thing that we allowed sponsorship at the golf course. Would there be sponsorship opportunities for something like
For
this?
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Councilor Fish?
Last year, National League of Cities Conference, went to a workshop for childcare grant opportunities. Possibly I can reach out. I know it's early yet and we're at a precarious state of there, so who knows what's going to happen to grants, but there were a lot of things I learned from that I wasn't aware of, so I'll go back and review that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
Just kind of related questions. So Tom Sawyer Arena.
Yep.
So there was, obviously a
Yep.
contribution there. So what happens like when they, like, are you gonna dismantle Sawyer Arena? It just gets torn down and how does that work? Thanks, Tom. We're done, we're done.
How do I phrase that?
And will you be removing that, editing it out?
So as we've gone along this process, I get that question a lot. We aren't there
Okay,
yet to
okay.
say a
That's a little
definitive
bit-
answer to you. We asked about the same, we're gonna do the Army. I don't know.
Okay,
We're still in those early stages. There may be, I don't know.
Cause then it isn't replacement, you know, if we keep those facilities
Yeah, no.
up and running, then, you know,
If
we're
indeed
still
this,
paying and now we got this new one. and-
yeah, if there's a new facility, those would not be used.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back. I think Joe's heard it probably the most of all of us. It's, and you kind of alluded to it, it's a 30-year facility operating on 20-year equipment over there.
Yeah,
So.
And I
yeah.
think that's generous.
Yeah. So again, I don't have a great answer for you as far as what's gonna happen to the current facilities once this would be done. We've got some time to think about that. Certainly Hayward Park itself is a pretty tight place now. We
Yeah.
have over there.
yeah,
So to add anything over there, and our facility down on Main Street, we've got a couple, 3 acres behind us, so that could be repurposed for entirely another use.
Yep.
That would benefit the city. I mean, it certainly is some sort of different space.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Do you have a geotech report of any sort for that property?
For Griffin Road,
Yeah.
I am not aware of one, John, but I would doubt it.
The property compared to everything else
school committee did that.
is probably the most cost effective.
Yep.
The most, bang for your buck, if you
Yep.
will, from a site development perspective. But a geotech would kind of solidify that.
So then there must have been one done when the fire station
I
was.
was gonna say, or
built.
school committee or, you know, the
If
school
actually did one,
or the fire, yeah,
the fire,
I think so too.
so can I ask Paul?
Yeah.
So this group having that knowledge, that certainly would help benefit the discussion with the mission that you have. Meaning that you all knew what soils were over there or some sort of geotech report. That might help the discussion.
It would refine your estimate down to probably a plus or minus 5%.
Okay.
On the site.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I think on the pricing, I mean, I'm trying to build a shed and even the pricing on getting a shed built in with like the last 6 weeks is fluctuating. So I'm sure that the numbers are going to change,
Yeah.
for sure.
I asked that, actually, we got SW Cole doing some stuff for us at Union Street now. In the scheme of if it would help the conversation, I can certainly ask the question, you give you one.
4 or 5.
Words, yeah.
It was
you know.
just enough to know that
Okay.
we're not
Okay.
2 feet down on the ground and we're hitting ledge, or, you know, we've got really bad suitables
Yep.
and suitables where we might be on a flat site, but almost all of the material's gotta come out and get replaced with
Yep.
something better.
No, for sure.
So I think that would really help us fine tune the numbers, I think, quite a bit.
And again, I don't know if the school ever did one.
I know.
There must have been done one done with the fire station, though that's down the corner of the property. I'll look into that for you.
I think this really speaks to like what a good committee this is with
This is
everybody
great.
having their
Yeah. this is
own
great.
sort of areas of expertise. So it's really, I would never think about it. I don't know what a geotech survey is and I would never think to ask for one, but we all have our own information to bring to contribute to this conversation, which I think is really valuable. It's what makes Bangor great, right?
Do you know, were there construction types when they were putting their square foots together? Were we talking pre-engineered? Were there
Yeah.
sustainability goals?
Yeah.
Were
Yeah,
there,
there's
like-
2 areas that were pre-engineered
Yeah,
steel, so that's
okay.
why they said they can keep the cost down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So-
Flat
So-
roofs, are they flat roofs? Are they?
No, just like the entryways and
Yeah.
stuff, and then the spaces like 6 and stuff where we're gonna have like our, like if you look here in the blues.
Yeah.
The blues would be like the roofs and the full construction, but like the basketball courts and the ice rinks are the steel engineered. That's where they thought that they could get it in under around $200 under a foot.
They didn't go, I'll say they didn't go completely cheap, but were conservative in what they put together for a concept, to try and keep. Definitely to try and keep things the best they could, but again, clearly what we're hearing is, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My reservation with that would be, I mean, when you look at other complexes that have gone that route, and I'll pick on St. Joe's in their Broadway project, where they went in there and did everything as economically as possible.
Mhm.
You'll notice that the last building that they built was not a pre-engineered building. It was a regular building because of the long-term maintenance issues, the long-term, the life of the building. I mean, let's face it, anything that the city builds is gonna be around for a long, long. So we can't.
10 years.
Yeah, we can't be thinking in terms of 25 years. So I would only put that out there, thinking about long-term issues as opposed to the cheapest way we can get into today.
Is there a rendering of the exterior design or is that to be
No.
determined?
Nope, to
Will
be
that
sure.
be, done?
We
that
could.
way?
It wasn't part of this.
Okay.
We didn't do any exterior rendering. They kept it the concept and cost to run. And,
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that they have here is like, there's the flow space that we told them on where to drop off, bus drop offs and the daycare drop off and where,
That was great.
entryways and stuff,
Yeah.
but they're waiting until this all happened.
It's 2D at this point, not 3D.
That may be
As
something
soon as
that-
we get something like that for the public, they do not come on board.
Right.
Thinking
Right,
about,
actually
I don't know what the funding plan is, if this is a bond, but if this is, it may be something that so many folks struggle to read, to sort of visualize that it may be worth a little bit of an investment to get that 3D rendering so that the public can really
The Y
visualize.
was the same way, I'm like,
Yeah.
here's what we're gonna do, but once you actually see the the fly-throughs and stuff,
Yeah.
it makes it a lot more feasible and. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing if you're doing your own house project, right? Give me an idea what it's gonna look like.
It's great feedback. Thank you. This is great. Fantastic. So I hear, again, square footage, if we can pull up some sort of GS. As we keep going in the conversation, a couple of renderings, just to be helpful if we get to that point. We'll add, we'll start to add the fitness component to it, see where that fits. But in concept, what you have in front of you today, we'll stay with that phase one concept. And probably get some information for your next meeting with that.
Great
Does that make sense?
That sounds great. I'm excited to move this move forward from the initial conversations a couple years ago.
still engaged to do?
Yeah, so as I said, we've had some post conversation with CHA specifically.
Yeah.
So we can start there.
Okay. So I call these bubble diagrams. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology from an architect's perspective, but that would be just a matter of them plugging in fitness areas and just kind of.
I've been calling them blocks, so.
Blocks, yeah, so, okay.
I mean, and this isn't set in stone. I mean, this is what we, after, we had conversations, like the childcare area, for instance. This is how we kind of wanted it, and then totally changed my mind since then, because I visited places. And I'm like, I do not want all those people to congregate in one little spot. It needs to be a little more spread out, the same amount of space, but just spread out a little differently. So this is kind of like what we'd like to have, how it's gonna be, but there's a few areas that we can move around. Right now.
Any other final comments, questions? We're right on time to wrap up. Oh, one more.
Well,
from
just
you.
like, how often do you
Yeah.
need this group to meet and when will we know that we're done?
So the order says that this group needs to have a report back to the city council by July 10th.
Okay, and will the city take care of scheduling the future meeting?
So I'm trying to remember as you all were talking, David only scheduled this one.
Yeah, and just Thursdays.
So this
noon.
Thursday noon, regardless of the week, seems to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will suggest, so let me think, we got school vacation next week. Is a couple of weeks too soon? We wanna wait and see what I can get for information in a timely manner before we meet again. I don't wanna,
I think if you can come back with more information, I think
Okay.
that would be good.
so we'll hold off scheduling the next meeting until I do that. Okay.
Okay.
Or we do that.
And is the ask to validate pricing? Is that one of the?
That's one of them. Okay. Validate pricing, recommend to move forward. validate pricing. If there's any changes, like some of what we talked about today, include those in the report. As a follow-up to the original report from February 24. Any other recommendations that you'd want to include in a report back to council? Did I answer that correctly?
I'm a little concerned about the comment that maybe the prefab might be the cheaper and faster. Is there any way we might be able to get a comparison?
Yeah.
I can ask that, we can ask that,
Yeah.
we can ask that.
We can do
Yep,
a life cycle cost.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And as it relates to the report, is there a template of areas that the report needs to address or? No, okay.
We're all from scratch.
Yeah.
All from scratch. We can start to look for, hey, this is a format we need to have. I mean, and you, so you both.
I was gonna say, we've all had to do
We've
these
all,
reports
yeah,
and you
you've all
wanna
been
know.
there, so.
Yeah.
Candidly, amongst the five of you, three former, two current. If there is a particular format that you think would help on that end, or start to think about that. I mean, we're at a point where we don't need to get too
Yeah.
nitty gritty with that yet, but certainly how we format that, put that together, that would be helpful on their end, for sure.
For you guys, yeah, to be able to readability and usability and being able to act on it. So, yeah, kind of think about what you guys would need and then we'll
Yeah.
work with the template that best suits.
You know, there seems to be a lot of questions to be answered before July, and trust me, I am not pushing for anything beyond July. But when I think in terms of life cycle analysis of looking at this, which is, I'll just give you one example. I mean, thinking in terms of insulation and energy costs for a pre-engineered building as opposed to another building is dramatically different. So there's a lot of issues here that will be hard to be addressed in a relatively short period of time. That's my only comment.
The only thing we'll need to balance, as we've talked about, is completely starting over.
Yeah, I get it.
yeah.
I get it. I mean, I'm not trying to
No, I don't
reinvent
take
the
it that way,
wheel.
don't
I'm
take it
just,
that way. You know,
I'm just,
so hopefully there's a way we can accomplish as best we can some of these follow-up questions y'all have had and still meet that timeline.
Yeah.
So we won't know until we try.
Chris?
Just one last question, and I hate to even ask this, but the day and age that we live in, I think about 30 years ago, I remember going to going into the emergency department at the hospital, and it was wide open, and we never even thought about the need for security. In a lot of communities, community centers can become a place where we can have problems. Have we thought about either security aspect now and or in the future? Does the day come that we end up screening people coming into this? You hate to think anyone needs to think that way, but it's sort of reality. And has that been considered?
Yeah, it was considered, and I kind of alluded to it a little while ago in talking about the childcare area specifically. That's why it's off on its own side.
Yeah.
Separate from the rest of the facility. There's a common, I'll use, if you've ever been to it's not as wide open as that, but the initial entry into the facility itself. There's one point of entry. The childcare has its own point of entry. So yeah, we were already thinking about those things. And it goes back to how we're set up now.
Just thinking that SEPTED environmental design piece and and probably you're working with Bangor PD as well. But I just want to make sure we're not failing to consider some of those things.
That's definitely in there.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. And especially if we are like looking at adding a fitness, then they're like where you know who's in there. Rather than like where we are now and doors unlocked and anybody can come in whenever
access
he
control,
wants.
all
We
those
don't know
things.
who's in there.
Okay.
Or you taking kids across the parking lot to the play structure, and the last time, I can't remember when I was down there, but I was down there for something unrelated to childcare, and I'm like wandering around looking for my person. I'm thinking, it's right now, it's not.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, just in terms of just
Yeah.
vehicles being able to drive in there and just how we design parking lots, and it's just certainly a lot to it. It's just for a project of this size, it's just an important component, so you're probably already way ahead, so.
Real quick, how much information can we share?
This was all public.
Yeah, so you've been on
Yeah.
TV for the last hour.
Yeah. And you're on YouTube forever now.
So to be able to come up with different, pre-engineered design.
Yeah.
In conventional structural framing, I don't know that mass timber here would be economical at all, but that's certainly a discussion that we're having on a lot of different projects. We're gonna need to reach out to some industry experts.
Yeah, yeah,
To be able to help with that, so I just wanna make sure we weren't gonna breach anything there.
Would you be willing to give me a couple of ideas, give us a couple of ideas? I mean, if there's specific contacts
Right.
out there that we should follow up with, at the very least, try and expedite this process. If you don't mind sharing those with us, that'd be great. We certainly will go back to CHA and say, hey, here's, and Barry Dunn is already aware of these meetings happening. So they're already on hold to ask whatever we need to ask, and the same with CHA, so. The ICE folks, I don't know that we need anything specific from today for the ICE folks.
You call them block drawings or block diagrams, if they had a couple block diagrams of elevations, they don't need to pick sidings or pick anything like that, just to give us an idea of the different roof lines. How all that kind of comes together would be, I think, a little helpful.
Okay, do that.
What else, John, would be high level?
I don't know.
High level, right, John?
Yeah.
All right, so seeing no further questions, I think we are adjourned.
Right.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
And thanks for lunch.
Thank you, Mike.
That was good.
For the lunch.
Doing the locker room.
Taking the rest